Das, distinct from Gadadhar Pandit. So he, Gadadhar Das, heard about a particular government ruler, a Muslim government ruler that was very cruel. He was known to put Hindus in prison, to have them murdered, and he was a cruel guy. And as soon as he heard, he went right to his home. And when he came to his home, it was the dead of night. And he was raising his arms, chanting, Haribol, please chant the holy name of the Lord. And he was making a lot of noise. And the Muslim ruler, mean guy, came to the balcony, and looked over the balcony and saw Gadadhar. What are you doing here? And he just, loudly exclaimed, I've come to encourage you, or to request you to chant the holy name of Krishna. And he was, and started dancing and singing and doing his thing. The Muslim ruler didn't know how to respond. Because it's the dead of night, and he said, come back tomorrow and we'll chant Krishna's name. And Gadadhar Das said, you've chanted Krishna's name even once, and dancing went out the front door. Transcendental madman. But mad in the transcendental sense, not the other sense. There are some, you probably have bumped into one or two mad people. They can say anything and do anything. They don't know what they're doing, and they're disoriented. Something's missing in their head. But, they don't know what they're doing, and they're mad. They're insane. But this is a transcendental. They knew exactly what they were doing. And they were so filled with ecstasy, starting with Lord Nityananda. So we're going to hear some. Where did he get that quality? Well, it says it's an eternal quality. But it became nurtured by Madhavendra Puri, who was also like that also. So distribute the holy name for the proper price. Here's Adi Lila, the very first verse of Adi Lila chapter 5. This is one of the, so again, the structure of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Krishnadas Kaviraj had the association of Raghunath Das Goswami in Vrindavan for 45 years. That's a long time. And for those 45 years, every day at Radhakund, for 3 to 4 hours daily, a discussion about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he knew Raghunath Das Goswami knew about Lord Chaitanya because he had spent 16 years in Puri under the care of Swarup Damodar. So Raghunath Das, was like a favorite, a dear devotee of Lord Chaitanya, along with many others. And Raghunath Das, was put in the care of Swarup Damodar when he reached Puri. He was called the Raghu of Swarup, because apparently there were a number of Raghunaths, so that was how he was known. The Raghu of Swarup. And Swarup Damodar, most exalted person, just like Lita and Vishaka are dear to Radharani. So Swarup Damodar is one such person. And that's in Krishna Lila, that's who he is. So he and Ramananda Roy were with Lord Chaitanya that's those sections of Chaitanya Charitamrita where he just goes after the day's Sankirtan. He goes into a state of madness where he's different scenes. He goes to the sea. He's drowning in the sea, and they pull him out of the sea, and he's Jaja Gaga. He's lost it, and they know how to bring him back to external consciousness. And so Swarup Damodar knew the intricacies of Lord Chaitanya's profound love of Radharani in her mood of separation from Krishna. He firsthand experienced it. He knew how to help him to nurture those emotions. And then he shared everything with Raghunath Das. You can't get better than that. So Raghunath Das knew everything. Everything. It wasn't something he didn't know, because Swarup Damodar shared it with him. And second, Swarup Damodar kept a diary of those pastimes, because after time they would be forgotten to the world. So he kept a diary. And the diary was then given as a gift to Raghunath Das, who then passed it on to Krishnadas Kaviraj, who had Swarup Damodar's personal diary, or Kadacha. And the first 11 verses were taken directly from those diaries, summarizing who is Lord Chaitanya, and then expanding it. So that's the structure. So this is one of those verses. I would say the verse, but I'll be like a croaking frog. So you all can say it together. I'll start, but it's nice to hear the Sanskrit. Bande nata debadra Nityananda Ishwaram. Thank you. Let me offer my obeisances to Lord Nityananda, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose opulence is wonderful and unlimited. By his will, even a fool can understand his identity. Authored by Krishnadas Kaviraj. Here's another, is Pranam Mantra, and the author, you see at the bottom, is Dhyana Chandra Goswami. Dhyana Chandra Goswami. Dhyana Chandra Goswami was a disciple of Vikreshwara Pandit. And Vikreshwara Pandit was another intimate associate of Lord Chaitanya. Particularly, Vikreshwara Pandit was known for his dancing, and at the same time he was highly philosophical, and Dhyana Chandra Goswami was his disciple, and he wrote books. He wrote books about chanting, he wrote books about Lord Chaitanya, etc. So that's from his writing. Now let's try to recite this verse. Nityanandam aham vande karne labhi. I offer my humble obeisances unto Sri Nityananda Prabhu, who has a single pearl dangling from one of his ears. He is the elder brother of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the purifier of the earth. They're called brothers because they're transcendental brothers. They had different parents. They appeared at different times. Lord Chaitanya was 12 years younger 20 years younger than Chaitanya, than Nityananda. So here we go. Here's another verse. Now this is a little more difficult. I'll just read the translation. Let me always remember that brightly smiling face of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, whose beautiful movement ridicules the graceful gait of an elephant. His cloth resembles a cluster of blue lotus flowers, and his bodily effulgence conquers the splendor of the rising moon at sunset. His prema-saturated rolling eyes defeat the pride of a restless Kanjana bird. So in case you don't know what a Kanjana bird is, I didn't know. Here's one. It's a wagtail bird. I guess they wag their tail. And his eyes are compared to that. They just keep moving and moving and moving. So a wagtail keeps moving. Moving further into Adi Leela chapter 7. This is outlining those who expand from the principle Panchatattva. So here's Sankarshana Karana Toya Sai. May Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Then he describes 5 entities that expand from him. Sankarshana, Sheshanag, and the Vishnus who lie on the Karana ocean, Garbha ocean, and ocean of milk are his plenary portions, and the portions of his plenary portions. The portion of the portion is Sheshanag, and the other are plenary portions. So Sankarshana, in the Goloka realm, there's the 4, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Vasudeva. And then in Vaikuntha, there's the same 4. The expansions of the original 4. The original 4 is the Sankarshana, Sheshanag, and then the 3 Vishnus. Now, there's a lengthy discussion about those 5 in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but here we're just, the intention is just to give a quick gloss, and then as we go forward in time, we'll go back, circle back, and exactly as Krishnadas Kaviraj does, we'll circle back and then expand meanings of these verses. So again, this is from the original 11 verses of Adi Leela of the entire Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'll just read the translation. I surrender unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarshana in the midst of the Chaturvyuha. Here's the Chaturvyuha names: Vasudeva, Sankarshana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Loka, far beyond the material creation. So Nityananda Ram is positioned as the Sankarshan feature, as Balaram, the first expansion of Krishna, as Balaram. And Balaram's first expansion is Sankarshan. This is in Goloka. These are all eternal. Just so for clarity's sake, it's not once upon a time there wasn't a Sankarshan. And Balaram looked at his watch and said, "You know what? I think it's time for an expansion." It's not a chronological event, but it's a relationship between the original source, Krishna, and that which comes from the original source. It's an ontological relationship. So Sankarshan expands from Balaram. Sankarshan expands from Balaram. And that Nityananda Ram is the same. He's known by that name, Sankarshan or Nityananda Ram. Next verse. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Nityananda Ram, whose partial representation, called Karana Dakshayi Vishnu, lying on the Karana ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy and the shelter of all the universes. So that's one of the five, another one of the five expansions from Nityananda Ram. So Sankarshan, and then the first of the Vishnu forms, the Karna Dakshayi Vishnu, reclining in the Karana ocean. Very nice painting. And the bubbles, as you know, those are material universes. And the universes expand with his breathing. He doesn't have to do much, he just breathes. And then universes come streaming from the pores of his body. Very powerful. Next, number 10. I offer my full obeisances unto the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu sprouts the lotus, that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. So within each universe there's a Garbhodak ocean arising from the perspiration of the body of Vishnu. And then he reclines on an Antashesh, which is another of the expansions of Balaram or Nityananda Ram.
Were not repeated.
What?
The slides were not changing.
Oh. You fixed it? There's one more. One more. Well, I can read what it says on my screen, but it's not showing on your screen. What do you want to do?
Start again.
Just the whole thing? You do what you got to do. But it's not the same. What's here is not what's there. It's still different. That's Karnadaksha Vishnu. We were saying this. This is the next one. Yay. So Garbhodakshay Vishnu. I offer my full obeisances unto the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda, a partial part of whom is Garbhodakshayi Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitudes of planets. Means within the stem, that's where the planets are. The vertical dimension of the universe is within the stem. And Brahma appears at the top of the stem on the lotus flower. So all of these are described summarized in Adi Lila chapter 1 and then expanded in chapter 5. And here's 11 of the verse 11. Offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus, the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. That Kshirodakshayi Vishnu is the super soul of all living entities and the maintainer of all the universes. Sheshanag is his further subpart. So that covers the 5. Sankarsana, the 3 Vishnus, and Sheshanag, the further subpart. So all of at least I'll say, I'm accustomed, most of us are accustomed to thinking of all of this in relation to Krishna, and to some extent in relation to Balaram and Balaram's expansions. But even more in terms of Chaitanya Leela or Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's Nityananda. So when Nityananda is dancing, and we're going to hear some pastimes doing the Nityananda program, he's simultaneously all these other entities. That's part of our practical experience, just like the painting. All those little four-armed forms of Vishnu scattered everywhere. Those are entities, living entities. And within the heart of those living entities, there's Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, or the super soul. And he's expanded everywhere. Those that have had the direct association of Nityananda and were trained particularly by Jiva Goswami, as Narottam Das Thakur was trained by Jiva Goswami. He wrote wonderful songs. Nitai Pada Kamala is one of those very beautiful songs from a collection of songs of Prarthana. And here's I can't sing. Who's going to sing? You're going to sing. Are you aware you're going to sing?
It was supposed to be on Nityananda Trayadashi.
Supposed to be what?
Nityananda Trayadashi.
Okay. Well, this is a warm-up. This isn't the whole song. This is just one of the verses.
Nitai pada kamala koti chandra sushitala. Nitai pada kamala koti chandra যে ছায়ায় জগৎ জুড়ায়, যে ছায়ায় জগৎ জুড়ায়, ছায়ায় জগৎ হেন নিতাই বিনে ভাই রাধা কৃষ্ণ পাইতে নাই, হেন নিতাই বিনে দৃঢ় করি ধর নিতাইর পায়, দৃঢ় করি ধর নিতাইর পায়, দৃঢ় করি
Translation. The lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are a shelter where one will get the soothing moonlight of not only one but of millions of moons. If the world wants to have real peace, it should take shelter of Lord Nityananda. Unless one takes shelter under the shade of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it'll be very difficult for him to approach Radha Krishna. If one actually wants to enter into the dancing party of Radha Krishna, he must firmly catch hold of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda. So there's other verses we'll hear more on Nityananda's appearance day. And here's Prabhupada writing on the same point. Anyone desiring to become expert in the service of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna should always aspire to be under the guidance of Sarup Damodar Goswami, Sri Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. To come under the protection of the Goswamis, one must get the mercy and grace of Nityananda Prabhu. So our path is very clearly spelled out. Another reference, Lochan Das Thakur, another very senior Vaishnava who wrote songs, as many Bengalis like writing songs. So Nitai Gunamani Amar. May my Lord Nitai is the jewel of all transcendental qualities. It is said that Srila Nityananda Prabhu is more merciful, more magnanimous, more munificent than Srimad Gauranga Mahaprabhu. We mentioned this already. How can be more than the most? Be Lord Nityananda, as demonstrated in the Jagai Madhai pastime. This is the birthplace, Nityananda Janmastan. Pretty simple. In Ekachakra. Here's the place. 12 years before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, the Garbha Vasa. This was not actually it's a monument commemorating the place where he was born. And inside, this is the deity of Lord Nityananda. Inside that structure, the Garbhavas. Here is a little monument. If you didn't know, it's right near the lake. It's the burial place of Lord Nityananda's umbilical cord. Who gets their umbilical cord put in samadhi. When he appeared, there was a local temple of Lord Shiva, and in the temple, Maheshwara Shiva roared of the time when he was born, so far away between where Advaitacharya resided in Shantipur and Ekachakra. It's a big distance, so he must have roared really loudly. And Advaitacharya understood. Seeing Nitai, Lord Shankara danced exactly like a peacock. In this way, he fulfilled the purpose of his name, Mayureshwara, the controller of the Mayuras, the peacocks. Mayureshwara is the deity of Shiva near Ekachakra. He is known as Mayureshwara because he is the Ishwara in the village named Mayura. However, by seeing Nityananda's appearance, Shiva actually started dancing like a Mayura or peacock. Here's the place where that deity is, and here's a close-up of the deity. The deity is situated, as you can see, inside a pit. And here's, a photograph of a very old painting, old deities, excuse me. Nityananda is in the middle. Advaita is on one side. Lord Chaitanya is on the other side. These are deities in Ekachakra. And in the center, that same deity is photographed standing alone with his two arms extended, giving his benedictions. And that's Nityananda. Here's the same deity. And Lord Chaitanya has his right hand raised like that. The mudras mean something. I don't know the details of each of these mudras. When he was a boy, he found a deity named Banka Roy in a river. And Banka means he was bent over. So the deity is in that shape. And Nityananda, it is said that he left the world entering into the body of the deity. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did something quite similar, Gopinath deity in Puri. And this is Nityananda's destination. There's a close-up of the deity. Banka Roy. Here's the place where the deity was found. If those of you that have been to Ekachakra, you know these names. Kadam, Kandi. So it's a place where there was a bathing ghat near a tributary of the Jamuna River. Kadambakandi, the place where Lord Nityananda found the deity of Bangaroy floating in a tributary of the Jamuna. So the Sadbhuj deity form on the right, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, the main deity in the center. There was a period of time when the Pandavas were in exile, and part of that time they spent in Ekachakra. Not the whole time, but sometime they were there. And there's a whole very attractive pastime where there was a demon that resided in an area of a grove of trees. And the local villagers had a plan where on every month they would drive a bullock cart loaded with food for the demon, and they would send one of their family members to drive the bullock cart, and the demon ate the bullocks. He ate the driver, and he ate what was on the cart. It's a nice story. So at one time, Queen Kunti, she heard the mother crying. And so she eavesdropped, why is she crying? And she found out that they had to sacrifice someone from their family to drive the bullock cart to the demon to devour. So Kunti volunteered, let me send my son, Bhima. And she said, no, you're our guest. You're staying in her home. She said, you don't know my son. It'll be all right. So Bhima dealt with the demon, and the family didn't have to sacrifice a family member. It's a detail in a nice pastime from Ekachakra. Pandava, so it's called, this area is Pandava Tala, about 400 meters southeast. So if you visit Ekachakra, you can find the place. The villagers know. So I'm going to read the book. In his childhood, Nityananda enacted pastimes of Krishna. He tasted the pastimes of his life in a previous age. The very pastimes which Anantashesha glorifies every moment are now being relished by him directly in the form of Sri Nitai. That's how it's written in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Now, it's in Chaitanya Bhagavat, although not in Chaitanya Charitamrita. And somebody that has a better voice than me can maybe read these verses, starting with text 14. You have a good voice. Read loud and clear.
Which was text 14.
Starting with text 14.
Translations and purpose, Maharaj.
What?
Only the translations.
That's right.
The pastimes that the Lord enjoyed with his childhood friends were all related to the activities of Lord Krishna. Text 15 to 17. He and his friends formed an assembly of demigods, and one of them, acting as Mother Earth, offered prayers to them. They then led Mother Earth to the river bank, and the children all began to offer prayers. Then one of the boys, hidden from view, loudly declared, "I will soon take birth in Madhura, Gokula." Text 18. One evening, the Lord and his friends enacted the marriage of Vasudeva and Devaki.
Don't read the number, just read the verses.
Then late one night, while everyone slept, they made a prison and enacted the birth of Lord Krishna. They created a Gokula, and Krishna was taken there and exchanged with Mahamaya, thereby tricking King Kamsa. Another time, they dressed someone as Putana, and someone climbed on her chest to suck her breast. One day, Nityananda and his boyfriends made a shakata or handcart out of reeds and then broke it. Another day, the Lord and his friends stole from the houses of the neighboring cowherdmen. The boys never left Nityananda's association to go home, but continued sporting with him day and night. The children's parents did not complain, rather they would affectionately embrace Nityananda. They said, "We have never seen such transcendental sports. How does this child know so many of Krishna's pastimes?" One day, the Lord made snakes out of leaves and then took his friends to the water. One of them jumped into the water and remained there inert. Later, the Lord brought him back to the consciousness. Another day, the Lord and his friends went to Talavana, where they killed Dhenukasura and then ate tala fruits. Nityananda and his childhood friends went into the fields and enjoyed various pastimes, such as the killing of Bakasura, Aghasura, and Vatsasura. In the afternoon, the Lord and his associates returned home blowing buffalo horns. One day they enjoyed the pastimes of lifting Govardhana hill, and another day they created a Vrindavana wherein they enjoyed various sports. One day they enacted Krishna's pastime of stealing the gopis' clothes, and another day they enacted his meeting the wives of the Brahmanas. On one occasion, a boy dressed as Narada with a beard and gave Kamsa some confidential information. Another day, one boy dressed as Akrura and took Krishna and Balarama to Kamsa's capital. As Nityananda cried in the mood of the gopis, it appeared to his friends that a river was flowing from his eyes. Due to the influence of Vishnu's illusory energy, no one could recognize Nityananda as he enjoyed pastimes with his friends. The children arranged a city of Mathura and then wandered through its streets. Someone played the role of a gardener and someone accepted a flower garland from him. Someone dressed as Kupcha and sandalwood pulp was accepted from her. A large bow was made and they all shouted in joy when it was broken. They enacted the pastimes of killing the Kuvalaya elephant and the wrestlers Shanura and Mushtika. Thereafter, Kamsa was grabbed by the hair and thrown to the ground. After killing Kamsa, the Lord danced with his friends in such a way that everyone watching began to laugh. In this way, Nityananda and his friends imitated the pastimes of the various incarnations. Shall I continue?
Childhood. Where did he learn all these things? But he knows all those things. And, it's rasa. He's enjoying in a different age the rasa that Nityananda, that Balaram and the cowherd boys experienced. So they're living in Ekachakra in a different time, but experiencing that rasa as children have an ability, of course, imaginary bow and imaginary, Kaliya and so forth. But the rasa was being relished again by the cowherd boys. I'll read. Once he became so absorbed in the mood of Lakshmana, fighting in Lanka, that he actually became unconscious by the power of the Meghannath's blow. Meghannath means Indrajit. Blow to his chest. He remained in that condition for so long that the other boys tearfully went to inform his parents, Nityananda and Lakshmana. When they saw their child unconscious, they all started to cry. Then one boy said, Nityananda told me that when he faints, Hanuman should bring the Sanjivani medicinal plant from the Gandhamandana mountain. When Nityananda smells it, he will regain consciousness. Good thing you remembered, huh? The boy playing the role of Hanuman enacted obtaining the Sanjivani plant, including engaging in battle with a Gandharva to obtain the herb. Upon bringing the herb to Nitai, to everyone's amazement, he quickly regained consciousness. So both Krishna and Ramachandra's pastimes were enacted. Of course, the principal actor, and the director, and the script writer, and everything was Nityananda. And he did this for a long time. He did this for the first 12 years of his life. And then something very amazing happened. Just after his 12th year, when Brahmana came to the home of his mother and father, his mother Padmavati and his father Hadai Pandit. So the Brahmana came, and they, because they're exalted Vaishnavas, they're Brahmanas also, They invited him to have a meal. They had a meal at their home. He was very pleased by all their character and conduct and everything. And then he said, I have a request. So whatever it is that you want, whatever it is, just say. He said, I'm going on pilgrimage. I want your son to come with me. There's a detailed description of how all this happened. And Hadai Pandit started thinking of the same thing happened when Vishwamitra Muni had come to ask for Dasarath to have his son. So he didn't want, but he was advised by ministers, don't anger Durvasa Muni or Vishwamitra Muni. So with great reservation and reluctance, at the age of 12, he sent his son. And there's a very heart-rending description of the two, mother and father, and then the rest of the villagers watching as the Brahmana and the young boy, walked down the road, heading for their next destination, and crying. And, that's very, very sweet how it is narrated. And he went on pilgrimage for 20 years. That's a long time. 20 years. And what was he? He was waiting. This event of the pilgrimage began around the time of Lord Chaitanya's advent. But for 20 years, Lord Chaitanya was not behaving like a Vaishnav. He was behaving like a scholar. So one of the first places they went was Pandharpur. And then I'm going to give a little bit of a description. Would you believe that there's a difference of opinion on who was Nityananda's Diksha Guru? Prabhupada writes about it, as you see in these references. Chaitanya Bhagavat, Bhaktisiddhanta wrote the commentary for Chaitanya Bhagavat. He makes reference. And there's a very nice explanation. There's many nice things. Nityananda, said repeatedly, Madhavendra Puri is my guru. Now, Madhavendra Puri is my guru can mean different things. One of the things it can mean, according to Bhakti Ratnakar, is that he was initiated by Lakshmi Pati Tirtha, who was the guru of Madhavendra Puri. And then later, Nityananda, developed a great affinity for his godbrother or associate as Madhavendra Puri, and he accepted Madhavendra Puri as a Shiksha Guru. The narration that's found, I guess, sharing, not like conclude, because there's differences of opinion. So just, you can leave it at that. But in Bhakti Ratnakar, it describes in Pandharpur, 12-year-old Brahmin boy, met Lakshmi Pati Tirtha. And Lakshmi Pati Tirtha became very attracted to this young boy, and vice versa. So one evening, Lakshmi Pati Tirtha had a dream, and in his dream, Balaram appeared. And Balaram appeared saying, soon there'll be a young man who'll come to join you, and you should give him Diksha, and he will be of great service to the Vaishnava community. And in being instructed by Lord Balaram in his dream, that's what he did next day. That's according to Bhakti Ratnakar. In Pandharpur, he received Diksha from Lakshmi Pati Tirtha. And then, in course of time, he became a very close friend, but looked up to Madhavendra Puri, and it's very important, transcendentally important, that the mood of Nityananda and the mood of Advaita Acharya were derived from Madhavendra Puri. It's worth spending a little bit of time. Madhavendra Puri is in the line of Madhvacharya. And Madhvacharya he was a worshipper of the Krishna deity, and he was a great Krishna bhakta. But Madhvacharya was a tattvavadi in the language of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he visited in Udupi. And tattvavadi has an implication that they were very clear about the tattva of Krishna, but they didn't have the same understanding as his understanding of rasa. In other words, prior to Madhavendra Puri, the understanding of Krishna being the source of everything was clear. And then from the time of Madhavendra Puri, the intimacy of love, particularly the love of the gopis, because that was a practice that he had, an ecstasy practice that he had of speaking a mantra or a phrase again and again of the gopis' feelings of separation from Krishna. And he became deeply immersed in that ecstasy. And similarly, the ecstasy of spontaneous devotion was transmitted from Madhavendra Puri to Nityananda and to Advaita Acharya, who also became a Diksha disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So there's a way of, trickling down or receiving the higher mellows of bhakti from qualified persons like Madhavendra Puri. So who he was initiated by is a controversy. Some say this and some say that. Here's a nice illustration of Ishwara Puri, Lakshmipati Tirtha fainting in the time of being in the association of Nityananda and vice versa. It was an ecstatic moment for both. Here's the deity of Vitalanath in Pandharpur. And mentioned in this whole connection this is the very place where the elder brother of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Nimai Pandit, he had accepted the sannyas order, and it was known as Shankararanya Puri. He left his body in Pandharpur. It's coincidental in one sense, and it's transcendental in another sense. So for those 20 years that he was on pilgrimage, one of the places that Lord Chaitanya stayed is pictured here. By the side of the river Jamuna, there's this Nityananda Vat and Shringara Vat. Another place that he went from time to time was a place that Lord Balaram had a pastime with the river Jamuna at a place called Ramghat. The pastime, he became intoxicated drinking this beverage, and Varuni beverage, and he then wanted, in his ecstatic and intoxicated state, he wanted the Jamuna to come so he could bathe. She didn't come. So he took his plow and started dragging her. And then she came before and offered her prayers. So this pastime occurred at Ramghat in Vrindavan, and Nityananda would also visit that place. And this is our last slide for this evening. There's supposed to be some sound connected, but it's not playing. Maybe it's Don't worry about it. It's just nice music.
TV.
Oh. Let's go back and see what happens. Well, it worked before I came here, but now it's not working. But it's okay. It's just music. It's not saying anything. It's Prabhupada playing harmonium and hearing. It's worth hearing. Prabhupada playing harmonium. It's so elegant. He's not yet singing. It's just the prelude to a song he's going to sing. But he was expert at everything. So I somehow made it through the class. And could you remind me what time I'm supposed to leave? It's time to leave. Yeah. I have to leave. I have to leave because there's a devotee in China that wants to have, the GBC of China wants to have a conference call about a visit I'm going to be making going to China. And I don't like to end like this, but I have to end like this. Yes? Do we have 5 minutes? 7 minutes. Any comments, questions? Yes, Juna Jivana, all the way in the back. You're going to have to get up. Just stand.
Because I had a comment, Shradhika had a couple of...
Yeah.
How are these two uses of the word ontological similar or distinct?
Leave it to Sri Radhika to ask a question like that. It's not a term that our acharyas use that I'm aware of. It's a term that I use indicating an event that's real, but it's not, in contrast to an event that happens in time. Ontological event is it's real event. And so that's Yatarham is same. You will have something.
Maharaj, I just want to confirm you mentioned that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami was spent 45 years with Raghunath Das Goswami,
Yeah.
Hearing from him the pastimes
Yes.
of Lord Chaitanya. Wow, that was a long time.
That's a long time.
And
That comes from the biography of Raghunath Das Goswami. Some number of years before he left home, 16 years with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Puri, 45. He lived a long time, 92 years.
my understanding was that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami transitioned from wherever he was to Vrindavan at a later stage of life. So I was...
Yeah, in a later stage of life, yes. But when was that? Now, I don't know how to match the two. And, now, I'm not going to try to do it right now, sitting in front of this audience. But you can take up that assignment if you want to. At what age was he when he finally made it to Vrindavan?
Yeah.
He was mature. But, he lived long life. In the writing of Chaitanya Charitamrita, I'm sure it took a long, I don't know how many years, but I'm sure it took some time.
And a comment, Maharaj, is that I just completed studying 5th chapter of Adi Leela, which is about
Yeah,
Nityananda.
yeah.
it's the latter half of that chapter is where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami opens his heart
Yeah.
and just shares, which I think will be an upcoming part here.
Yes, upcoming.
So the degree of his humility and gratitude towards Lord Nityananda is just outstanding. And my observation was both the primary authors of Chaitanya Leela, the Chaitanya Bhagavata and Chaitanya Charitamrita, both those personalities have very strong relationship with Lord Nityananda.
Lord Nityananda, exactly. Yes.
That's all.
Very, that's going to come in the Guru Tattva topic, but that was a function. The Guru's function is to give the supreme. So he gave it liberally to those persons who then became authors of, not of him, although there's one biography about him from one of those persons, but glorifying Lord Chaitanya, he reveals Lord Chaitanya. This Guru Tattva, or reveals Krishna. The Guru reveals Krishna liberally. Someone else? Yeah.
Thank you so much, Guru Maharaj, in spite of the weather and your voice. Thank you so much for helping us get immersed. Just wanted to clarify, when we were hearing Lord Nityananda enacting these pastimes in his childhood, I was thinking as Lord Balaram and Lakshmana, he had access to all those pastimes. In one of the pastimes, please correct me if I heard it right, it says when Akrura was taking Krishna and Balaram, he was crying in the mood of the gopis, and the children were thinking a river is coming from his eyes. So I was thinking, like, he even has access to the gopis.
Yeah. He had Madhavendra Puri's association, eventually, but he had that spirit. He had realization of Krishna's pastimes and Lord Ramachandra's pastimes. It was within him already. He didn't need to go to school to hear it. He was already there. So I'm going to end. And I guess we'll see you tomorrow or something. Srila Prabhupada ki. Right.